Hello to all mystery adventurers. Welcome to episode 3 of the Only One is Real series. Before we dive into today's strange stories, all of which have a chilly Christmas and winter vibe, I have some important news for you. From this episode onwards, the rules of the game have changed. I'm going to tell you 3 stories that are incredibly bizarre, but only one of them is based on reality and documented facts. And here's the catch. I won't give you the answer at the end of this video. To find out which story was real, you'll have to wait until episode 4. So, listen closely to every detail, because the smallest clues can reveal the truth. Write your guess in the comments to see who's the smartest. Let's head into our first mysterious Christmas tale. Story number 1, Letters for Tomorrow.
The year was 1978, in the quiet town of Blackwood. Mark, a 22-year-old mailman, was working the late Christmas Eve shift. While sorting through the children's mail to Santa, he noticed something impossible. Over 50 letters were addressed to the same location, 44 Lincoln Street. Mark knew that house well. It had been abandoned for 30 years since the previous owner passed away in total isolation. Driven by an eerie curiosity, Mark drove to the house through a blinding blizzard. He noticed there were no footprints in the fresh snow leading to the door. He managed to enter the house, and what he saw inside froze his blood. Unlike the decaying exterior, the inside was perfectly organized. Thousands of letters were sorted on wall-to-wall shelves by year and children's names. Mark approached a desk where a single lamp was glowing. There he saw a fresh letter with ink that hadn't even dried yet. The letter was dated for tomorrow, but when he opened it, his heart stopped. It didn't have a long message, it simply said, "I am here." Mark felt a cold shiver down his spine, realizing he wasn't alone in that room. Terrified, he ran for the police. When they returned 20 minutes later, the shelves were empty, covered in thick dust as if nothing had been there for decades. But that letter? The one that said, "I am here"? It was still in Mark's pocket, a chilling proof of what he had encountered.
Story number 2, Vanishing on Route 9.
On the cold night of December 24th, 1990, the Miller family was driving through the dense pine forests of Maine. Tom, his wife Sarah, and their 3 children headed to a family cabin for Christmas. Driving just a few yards behind them was Tom's brother James in his own car. Route 9 was a lonely, straight stretch of road with no exits or side streets for miles. James recalls seeing his nephews laughing through the rear window of the Miller station wagon. Everything was normal, until 7:14 p.m. James looked down for just a split second to adjust the car radio. When he raised his eyes back to the road, the red tail lights of his brother's car were gone. The road ahead was completely empty. James slammed on his brakes, thinking they had swerved off the road, but the snow on the shoulders was perfectly smooth. There were no skid marks, no broken trees. Nothing. A car with 5 people had simply vanished into thin air. The police launched a massive search, but for 3 days they found zero evidence. No footprints, no metal debris. But on the 3rd morning, the mystery took a chilling turn. At the exact spot where they disappeared, the car suddenly reappeared. A state trooper found the vehicle idling in the middle of the road. The heater was still running and the interior was warm. On the back seat, the Christmas gifts were still neatly stacked in their bright wrapping paper. Tom's coffee was still in the cup holder, still lukewarm. The doors were locked from the inside, and the engine had plenty of fuel. Everything was there. Except the family. 5 people had vanished from a locked car in motion, leaving behind a warm engine and a pile of Christmas gifts. To this day, the Maine State Police have no explanation for how a family could be erased from reality, leaving only a running car as a ghost of their existence.
Story number 3, the shadow of the antique shop.
In the historic heart of London, there is a small, dusty shop known as the Time Vault. The owner, Mr. Goldman, was a man who dealt in legends and relics. For the 1990 Christmas season, he placed a life-sized 19th century wooden Santa Claus statue in the window. It was a masterpiece of craftsmanship, but it had a heavy, unsettling presence. Soon after the statue arrived, strange things began to happen. Every morning, Mr. Goldman would find small items moved around the shop. A Victorian pocket watch would be on a different shelf. An old silver coin would be missing from the display and found near the statue's feet. At first, he blamed mice or his own forgetfulness, but the heavy feeling in the air told him otherwise. On December 23rd, Goldman decided to stay in the shop after hours, hiding behind a velvet curtain with a flashlight. As the city bell struck midnight, the shop grew unnaturally cold. He heard a faint, rhythmic sound, the scratching of a quill pen on parchment. Goldman peered out, and what he saw made his heart race. The wooden statue itself was as still as a tomb, its painted eyes staring blankly into the street. But on the wall behind it, the shadow of the statue was alive. The shadow was moving independently, reaching into the air and grabbing spectral coins, then leaning over Goldman's ledger as if auditing the day's silver. The most terrifying part occurred when the shadow slowly turned its head toward the curtain where Goldman was hiding. Though the wooden statue didn't move, the shadow's hand pointed a long, dark finger directly at him. Goldman fled the shop that night and never returned alone. He eventually sold the building, but the legend says the wooden Santa remains in the basement, its shadow still waiting for the next person to count its treasure.
So there you have it. 3 chilling Christmas mysteries that blur the line between our world and the unknown. One of these stories is a documented fact, hidden in dusty police archives and witness testimonies. The other 2, simply shadows of the imagination. Was it Mark the mailman, holding a letter from a future that hadn't happened yet? Was it the Miller family, who vanished into thin air only for their car to return as a ghost? Or was it the shadow of the antique shop, watching its owner from the dark? I can see you're already reaching for the comments to write your guess. But look closer at the details. The truth is often hidden where you least expect it. And remember our new rule. The answer will not be revealed today. If you want to find out if your intuition is right, you'll have to wait for episode 4, where I'll open the file and show you the evidence for the one true story. Subscribe right now and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the reveal. Until then, write your theory in the comments. Story 1, 2, or 3. Let's see who among you can truly spot the lie. I'll see you in the next episode, if you dare to come back. Merry Christmas and stay curious.